So today I'm going to show you how to make a pattern for a ballet pump. So the pattern's going to be for a shoe something like this. It's going to be sort of rounded at the front there and just a classic ballet pump shape. This is going to be the most simple way to make a footwear pattern. So a few things that you're going to need are your lasts. You're going to need some paper, scissors, craft knife, masking tape, very important, pencil and eraser, ruler dividers, and a sharpener if you need it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take one of our lasts and put the other one to the side. You only need one last when making footwear patterns because we're just going to flip the pattern upside down to get the other foot. So we're going to take our masking tape and we're going to tape up the last to start with. So putting some masking tape straight down the front, and really make sure that you use your thumbs to get any air bubbles and creases out. All of the excess should just go on the underneath there. And we're just going to use the masking tape to layer on top of the last and make sure that the whole thing is covered. So I like to get one down the back and one down the front to start with. And then we're just going to layer it one across and one down until we've covered the whole last. Okay, so once you've got the last completely taped up, we want to remove all of the excess from the base, so all the way around the feather edge. So I'm just going to take my pencil and mark out where that feather edge is, and we'll cut away the excess. Okay, so once the feather edge is clear and the whole base of last has no tape on it, we can start to design our pattern on there. So, first thing I like to do is take my pencil and I'm going to draw a line straight down the front center there and straight down the center of the back as well. These lines are just to use as a guide, so if they're not spot on, don't worry too much about it. Okay, so now that I've got my guidelines in, I want to put my back height point in. I usually do that about a finger's width from the top of the last, just as a starting point. Okay, so now that I've got those in, I'm going to draw in my ballet pump. So I'm going to start by doing a nice wide opening at the front there, and drawing a nice straight line down from the back. Okay, so once you've drawn on your ballet pump shape and you're happy that it's all symmetrical all the way around, we're going to cut the masking tape off the last. So before we do that, we're just going to add in a quick seam on the side here. I always like to do it on the inside seam because it's the most hidden place. So just going to put a seam in like that there. Okay, and then I'm going to take my craft knife and I'm just going to cut around that line that we've drawn on there. If you dig the knife into the last, it helps give you a bit of a better grip as you're doing this, so that you don't slip and cut yourself. So once you've gone around there, you're just going to want to cut down your side seam as well. And at the back, we're going to cut a 3/4 seam. So we're going to cut from about here down to the bottom, okay? Alright, so once you've done that, you can remove all of the excess tape from the last. Okay. So it should now look something like this. And then what we want to do is peel the masking tape off in one piece. So I usually do that from the side seam. And just make sure that you do this nice and slowly so that all the tape comes off together as one section. Okay, so once you've taken your piece off, you want to lay it flat on the paper. So gently place it down and just stick down the top line to start with. Just ignore the rest of the pattern. So once you've stuck the top line down, you just want to basically use your fingers to flatten out the tape. When you get to areas like this at the front of the shoe, you're going to need to put a few slits into the tape so that it will lay flat. So just take your scissors, put in a couple of slits of that and lay it flat on the paper there. Okay? And same thing at the back if you need to. Okay, so now we're going to add in our allowances. Okay, so we're going to add our allowances in here. We want to put a 5mm folding allowance around the top line. We also want to put 5mm on the inside seam there. And we're not going to put any allowance on the back seam, but we are going to put about a 35mm allowance around the feather edge. So we'll start with the top line. I'm going to take my dividers and measure out 5mm. And I'm just going to run that across the top line. I'm just scratching in a mark onto the paper so that I can use that as a guide. And once you've done that, I like to just label them. So 5mm folding allowance and 5mm seam. Okay, and finally we're going to put in our lasting allowance, which is about 35mm. So I'm just going to open that up. 35mm is definitely a beginner's lasting allowance. As you get more practice, you can start giving yourself a little bit less in order to save on usage of your leather or whatever material you're using. Okay. And all the way around the feather edge. So you can see I've had to add some extra bits of paper here on the side to make sure that I can fit all of my allowance in. Okay. And remember to just disregard the back there. Okay. So this is 35mm lasting allowance. Okay, so that's ready to be cut out now. And that's your finished pattern. Left and right. That's how you do it.